In this video, we're going to demonstrate how to replace the Human Touch Super Novo speaker cable. First thing we're going to do is check if we have batteries in the battery backup compartment here. We actually don't have any, so we're good, but if we do have batteries in the backup compartment, we need to disconnect those batteries. Then we're going to use the remote control to recline the chair. This takes a little while as the chair moves all the way forward before it reclines. Once the chair is fully reclined, we're going to power off the chair and unplug it. Next, we'll use a 6mm Allen wrench to remove the Allen bolt that secures the front of the side panel. Next, we'll locate the small pocket just above the speaker and use a Phillips head screwdriver to remove the screw that's inside that pocket. Next, we'll lift the side panel up and slightly forward just to detach it far enough to expose the hoses and the connectors that we need to disconnect. So first we'll disconnect the hoses. Next, we need to disconnect the speaker connector, and if you're removing a left-hand side panel, there'll be an additional connector to disconnect. When disconnecting these connectors, make sure to depress the locking tab before disconnecting the connector. Don't just yank them out of there or you will damage the wiring. Next, we need to restore the chair to the upright position, so we need to plug it back in and power it on. And use the remote to just simply power on the remote and it will automatically restore to the upright position. Okay, then we can power it off and unplug it again. Next, we'll use a Phillips head screwdriver to remove the 4 screws that secure the rear plastic shroud. Now we can slide the shroud backward and then turn it to the side, positioning it in back of the chair out of the way. Next, we'll use a Phillips head screwdriver to remove the 2 screws that secure the main PCB cover. And we can remove that cover. That cover is secured in the back by tabs that are in slots, so you have to kind of pull up starting on one side and kind of pop the pop that cover up and back on one side and then switch to the other side. So you'll feel some resistance there, that's normal. And then we have the recline safety sensor connector that we need to disconnect before we can completely remove the cover from the chair. Okay, now that the PCB cover is removed, our objective here is simply to free up this speaker cable and disconnect it from the main PCB. So if we're working on the left-hand side here, this is the speaker cable. We can disconnect it from the PCB, and then we need to just follow it up to the side of the chair, disconnecting the zip ties as we go, and using a Phillips head screwdriver to remove the cable guide. As we follow it, we'll encounter more zip ties leading up until it's threaded through the side of the chair. Now, if we were replacing, we're not going to cover this in this video, if we were replacing the right speaker cable, that's right here, again a green and blue wire, and again we have to cut the zip ties that we encounter as we go along, follow it up, the zip ties and cable guides we encounter until it threads up through the right side of the chair. But we're working on the left side. Okay, so we're done on the back, and now we have two more zip ties here and here on the side, and we should be in good shape. And we can free the speaker cable from the chair. To install the new speaker wire, then, we will start by connecting it to the sound PCB. Obviously in the same location as the previous connector was located. Okay, and then we'll gather that cable up with the other cables that it was connected to previously and install a new zip tie in the same location where it was zip tied previously. Right there with that big thick white cable. Okay, then continue to route that speaker cable. Yeah, cut excess zip ties as we go here. Continue to route that cable up along with the other cables, then up to that cable guide. And you can see the little indent in the casing there where that cable guide goes. Replace the cable guide and secure it with the two screws. Okay, so we'll continue routing that cable back along the side with the other cables and up through the chair frame off to the side there. We'll zip tie him up there later, but just to hold him in place. So he's nice and aligned neatly along the side of the tray there, and we'll replace that zip tie in the back. To secure all those cables together. Those cables aren't secured to anything back there, they're just secured to each other. You can cut that excess zip tie. Next, we need to secure these cable bundles in two different places to the chair frame. So in order to do this, we're going to insert a zip tie between the plastic side panel there and the metal chair frame, slide the zip tie back and then pull it around to the inside and forward. So we're starting on the left, wrapping it around to the right and pulling it forward and then securing the zip tie. Whatever you need to do to get that zip tie around the chair frame. That's what's important here. And we're going to do that in two different places. I know when we cut those in the first place, the two zip ties were kind of right on top of each other. They probably just moved to that location. We just want to get these cables nice and secure to the frame in this area. So we're going to put the other one a little bit lower. Like so. Cut the excess zip tie. And we're ready to finish up on the side of the chair. Continue on the side of the chair then, we're going to secure that same bundle of cables to the vertical chair frame here. And finally, to the horizontal chair frame, making sure not to catch these air hoses in the zip tie. Now we're ready to reinstall the main PCB cover. Before we do this, note that it has two slots on the back like this and corresponding tabs in the back like this. We need to install those slots on top of those tabs. So kind of lift the cover in above those tabs and lower the slots onto the tabs. You can feel with your hands there and it's really important to make sure those slots are over those tabs. And once the slots are over the tabs, we can reconnect the safety sensor connector. Super important that we don't forget that. Tuck that in there and make sure the coil cable's in the little slot there, and we can replace the 2 screws to secure the PCB cover. Okay, now we can reorient the rear shroud facing the right direction and slide that into place. And we'll know that that's in the right place when the screw holes align. And then we can replace those 4 screws to secure that. Next, we're going to plug in the chair and power it on again so that we can recline it as far as it will go. This just makes it easier to reinstall the side panel. Next, we're going to place the side panel into position. We need to reattach the hoses, and it'll make it easier if we just rest the bottom of the side panel against the plastic chair frame here, just to get the weight off while we reattach the hoses. And the hoses are numbered, so be sure to match the correct numbered hose with the same numbered fitting. You can kind of hold that side panel in place with your knee. Okay, once the hoses are connected, we can connect the speaker cable and then also the left arm ledge panel connector. So when mounting the side panel, we're going to slide this bracket into this pocket here, into the bracket inside here. We're going to slide this horseshoe-shaped bracket onto this post. And then this metal bracket goes onto this ledge here. So if you can kind of visually align all those 3 things and pushing the side panel against the chair, slide the side panel back. It should lock into place. Might take a little trial and error. There we go. Then we can replace the 6mm Allen bolt underneath the calf massager to secure the front of the chair. And replace the Phillips head screw up in the little pocket and close the pocket. Be sure when you're screwing this screw in to make sure the screw holes are aligned and screw that screw straight in. It will go in part way, even if the screw holes aren't aligned, and you might think it's tight, but then the side panel will be wobbly. Okay, once that's done, close the pocket. If you remove batteries from the battery backup compartment, be sure to replace them or reattach them. Now we're ready to restore the chair to the upright position and confirm that it's working properly.